can say definitively that religions are all bullshit.
Welcome to Brainstorm.
We have the explicit tag for a reason.
This is a base level argument to a higher level of morality.
I get paid to science?
To science as much as one can science.
What the hell was my point?
Trigger warning. The Brainstorm podcast will criticize your most cherished beliefs. We attack nonsense in all its forms and discuss difficult subjects. If you peddle pseudoscience, supernatural woo, or religious dogma, then this is not your safe place. This is the home of hardcore skepticism.
Hi, and welcome to the Brainstorm Podcast, Skeptic Studio, where we do interviews, major topics, and news related to skepticism and atheism. I'm Cory, and my panel tonight are Angela.
Hello.
Rene.
Hello.
And Leo.
Hey there.
With the always amazing Dave doing sound.
And God.
And God.
And God.
We're here in Roman Empire Studios in Regina, Saskatchewan, and today is November 10th, 2017. Our guest tonight is Mike Smith from the Poorly Summarized Podcast. Thanks for joining us, Mike.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So I guess a good place to start would be, why don't you tell us a little bit about your deconversion story and how you got into podcasting?
Oh, okay. You know, I've told this story so much. I wonder if I just
make something up then.
Bore people to tears. Yeah, I feel like it's a little generic, and you're right. It should start kind of flavoring it up a little bit with
add ninjas.
Yeah, that's what writers of 80s video games thought. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's right.
It's not cool enough. We need to add more ninjas.
So first off, I'd say so I grew up LDS or Mormon. LDS for short. This Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. It's a bit of a mouthful to truncate it to LDS or Mormon. Speaking of mouthfuls, P.S. I was a Mormon missionary. We'll get to my idea first. Speaking of euphemism, I'm not going to make any. I'm making no dick jokes. I do so many dick jokes on my podcast that I've just got this rule that when I get on another person's podcast, I won't even say the word dick.
Hold on a second.
I think we're at a count of 10.
Yeah, he might have violated something there.
Prove it.
We have a recording.
Rewind the tape.
I am going to say the name of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Spanish, which is I did my Mormon mission Spanish speaking, and I just want you to understand the pain we would have to feel to say this. La Iglesia de Jesucristo de los Santos de los Últimos Días. That was the church.
Nice.
That sounds pretty amazing.
And there was a really popular, invigorating children's hymn that went in English. It was, I belong to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And there was a Spanish version that we would do. And speaking of mouthfuls, anyway.
That sounds like
deconversion story. Listen, guys, you're going to have to keep me on track here because, boy.
We have no idea how to do that.
Where's the whip cracking sound?
Our specialty is off track.
Well, on my podcast, I've got Justin, my co-host, and he, A, is an asshole. B, and no, he uses he's a skilled manipulator of my focus.
I was telling the crew about what your show was like, and I described it as kind of a straight guy and funny guy show where Mike tells his stories and Justin kind of has these sarcastic comments in the side.
I listened to it this afternoon, and I was quite entertained. It was quite.
Oh well, thank you. We'll get to the podcast in a bit, but so you're just listening it for the first time. He was on the podcast. He was on the podcast.
No, they don't listen to the things that I do.
Okay. Well, I'm flattered. You see, my strategy for getting listeners is to be on other people's shows so that the people who are interviewing me will be forced to at least listen to one of my episodes. So anytime I'm on another podcast, I get a download bump of one.
It's like sheep stealing, right?
It's just like sheep stealing.
Well, I have a question. Speaking of the Spanish Mormons,
Wait, time out. Is it related to me deconverting to Mormonism? It's for the love of God.
in a kind of roundabout way. In a kind of roundabout way. So, this fun fact: did you know that in Guatemala they play the punch buggy game with Mormons? Like whenever you see a Mormon, you punch your friend. Did you know that was a thing?
No way. Shut your mouth.
No,
How do you know that?
I shit you not. I went for a couple-week trip down to Guatemala a couple of years ago, and I was informed that was a legitimate game, and it was. I got punched so many times because the Mormons are just walking loose out there.
Yeah, Mormonism does well in like developing countries, but we don't call it punch buggy. For the record, it's slug bug.
Well,
Sure. And he is way more catchy. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying America does everything better than Canada.
How can you say slug bug no returns? That doesn't sound right.
Which, by the way, remember
that sounds like a mouthful.
Hey, listen. I don't appreciate your goddamn dick jokes.
Hey! God's in the room.
Well, technically, he's in the next one.
He's in the next room. I can call him over.
Don't know what they're talking about. I've decided that is he your producer, God?
He's the guru.
He's our sound tech guy.
His voice is what we imagine God sounds like.
Exactly.
When we loved God, back when we loved God. Now that we don't love God, he has a thick Southern accent.
So also, if we could get back on track, that
Okay.
Please. I'm kidding.
Deconversion story.
Hey, listen, you would make a great Justin, is all I'm saying. And that is not a compliment.
I'll still take it as one.
No, I love Justin. Anyway, deconversion. So I've been out of Mormonism for about 3 years, which actually isn't 3 years in March, which actually is fairly recently. I had my first drink of alcohol in March of 2014. I had my first drink of alcohol.
What did you have? Was it like the girliest drink? Was it like a Mai Tai? Shirley
that's
Temple.
Sexist. Don't gender my drink. Second of all, I was in Costa Rica. We were on our 10-year anniversary, and they gave us a free drink voucher with our room. And my wife and I had never discussed that we might drink alcohol together or anything. She just semi-sarcastically was like, hey, let's use these. And I was like, okay.
Decision made.
And then so I had my very first drink was like some kind of like a mixed, smoothie alcoholic drink.
Did it have a little umbrella?
And then the second, probably. Yeah. And then the second drink that night was a local beer, and then the third one was Jim Beam, a shot. Nice. So that's what I had my first night. I got drunk every night for the rest of the nights in Costa Rica after that, and so anyway, but my so that's when I stopped going to church, was roughly around that time. But I was an active Mormon atheist for years leading up to that. I would say it started in undergrad. I was studying architecture, which is a pretty. It's kind of like an art degree, and art degrees are pretty critical. Mm-hmm. And there's sort of like this idea in art that there's no idea that you shouldn't abandon overnight if you find a better idea. I don't know if I got the syntax right in that sentence, but I think you follow me. And so I was just constantly being exposed to critical ideas like I hadn't, in the past. I was 20. I started architecture school when I was 24. And so I was just exposed to this. I started reading a lot of philosophy, not my degree, obviously, but I was just kind of dove into philosophy for a while. And I actually just slowly concluded that God didn't exist. I wasn't happy about this at all, and I resisted it for quite a long time. And
so you went to architecture school and you realized that God didn't exist.
Yeah, I realized God didn't exist.
And you weren't happy.
I'm like, well, it troubled me. But the thing is, I'm a straight white male. I think Mormonism was designed specifically for me. Mormonism didn't, it privileged me. So I'm saying my experience wasn't negative, my personal experience. So I actually still enjoyed going to church. For example, in Mormonism, women aren't allowed equality. Obviously, homosexuals are not either. Up until 1977, blacks weren't allowed full fellowship. Right. And I wasn't woke enough, or that's even not the way I want to put it, because I know active Mormons who really want to fight for change and stay, and I respect that. But I didn't really have a lot of self-awareness about my position in Mormonism and a need to necessarily not be a part of something as a show of solidarity towards, you name any group that is harmed by Mormonism. But so I'm saying I genuinely enjoyed going to church, genuinely, till the end. I enjoyed the camaraderie. I enjoyed church is weird. Don't get me wrong, but you have legitimate social connections, even beautiful ones, because you're talking about heavy subjects. You're opening up emotionally. You're surrounded by people, even though there's a lot of homogeneity within Mormonism, you're still exposed to kind of diverse lifestyles and opinions in a way that you're not because your coworkers, you're not necessarily really getting to know each other on that level. So my point is there was some social value and emotional growth that maybe could happen for me, within Mormonism. For
sure.
But I don't know. It was over time. First off, there was also a thing I wasn't openly acknowledging my atheism. I was God probably doesn't exist, but you know what? In my mind, Mormonism makes me a better person, and I enjoy it, so I'm just going to keep going. Is what I was thinking, years ago. We're talking this point. We're talking 2009, 2010, and then I'll tell you, there was a straw that broke the camel's back in terms of that holding out hope. It was when I didn't actually read Mormonism has a very troubled history. For those of you who are familiar with it, namely that, for example, Joseph Smith, most Mormons don't even know that Joseph Smith was a polygamist. But even if they know it, they don't know that he had. No, I did not know he was a polygamist until I was in my mid-20s. I was like, what's this? But polygamy is sort of okay, historically, so it's not that's a deal breaker. But then I was reading just Wikipedia, and I realized that 11 of Joseph Smith's roughly 35 wives, we're not sure about the number, but roughly 11 of them were married to other men. And so I found out he was in polyamorous relationships. And so you're okay, but you're, hey, consenting adults, right, whatever. Dude, God doesn't exist. If you guys just want to have a big orgy, be my guest. But then and this all happened at one time, in one reading. Then I was oh, and some of his wives were 14 years old. And his line was that an angel visited him with a sword and told them that if he didn't, if they didn't marry him, he would be killed. Right. And he made threats about eternal salvation and promises about the salvation of their entire family if they essentially slept with him. So anyway, I just was I felt I got kicked in the stomach.
I'll get a little bit of tail.
Yeah, right?
He sounds like he should work in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
If you don't sleep with me.
So anyway, that kind of was where I realized I couldn't believe it, but I still lasted a few more years, and it over little by little I started to get more and more annoyed. And then I think I just realized video. Let me turn video on, guys. So you can see I just want you guys to see how earnest my face is. It's why is nobody looking at me? Look at me, goddammit! I didn't have the video button on. Anyway, do you guys mind if I masturbate?
I was going to say, wasn't that Louis C.K.'s line?
I'm sorry. Is that Is that not the kind of comment for a
I'm
live
just going to
show?
read a book over here while you do your thing.
I was, yeah. Anyway, so
I'm just gonna have some peanuts.
Salty
where was
nuts.
I made myself blush.
Sorry.
Oh, jeez.
I was talking about salty nuts.
Yeah. So yeah.
I like them salty.
Yeah.
What did-
So I found that out. The rug was pulled out from under me. But I kept going, and then ultimately I think it was like I moved back to Utah eventually, and I had a little girl. We adopted this girl, and I just was like, can I, as a father, raise my daughter in this? My daughter, who is considered technically unequal. They say it is not, but I'm saying it's, women are can't hold the same level of authority as men. And I just like realized that it was no longer about me like just enjoying Mormonism by myself. There were kids involved.
Right.
And so I kind of like went from going to church every Sunday to just stopping immediately. And then like, and it kind of happened around the time, like it was on my mind. And then when I had alcohol, it was sort of like, all right. And now I'm just embracing this lifestyle. I'm done.
Well, there you go.
And, anyway, so it's right. It's true what they say about alcohol. It's the devil's drink.
That'll turn you atheist just like that.
Damn right.
So I told you it's not that entertaining of a story.
No, that's a good story.
What could I was fishing for compliments and thank you.
I thought it was fine.
It's actually a good story.
Probably better
I
than
think
mine.
it could have been a better story if it was like a couple Mai Tais later and it's like, fuck you, God.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was. I'll tell you another kind of awakening for me. Like, part of me too was like I realized that I was just leaving church angry, and I think a lot of it socially at least, came to a head when we're in church and somebody was like, the guy's giving the Sunday school lesson, and he said something like, Jesus always taught that this wasn't his message, it was his Father's message, and why would he do that? And people started raising their hands, talking about how humble Jesus was and his great humility and his perfect example. And I like raised my hand and I'm like, so like if I borrowed my dad's Ferrari and somebody said nice Ferrari, and I was like, well, it's my dad's, I wouldn't expect this to be like go down in my biography about how
You're not
humble
so humble that you.
and it's like, I'm like, this is the kind of cult of personality surrounding Jesus that bothers me. It's like everything isn't an example of his love and kindness and perfection.
Right.
And somebody who I respected, who I considered objectively kind of smarter than me, told me to knock it off, like in class. And I realized something. I'm like, it was like, that was a bit of a push for me out too, where I was like, I'm at a point where I'm like ruining this experience. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not above spoiling a party. All right. With a story. But like, I just realized I was like, I was offending people. I was becoming less funny and more offensive over time. So there are a lot of factors, but ultimately what I just realized probably the specific reason is that I knew I couldn't raise my daughter in it. And anyway, it's been quite fun since. I wouldn't say I'm happier. I would say life is 15% more fun. Because happiness is so hard to quantify. Like I lost some things and I gained some things, so it's like, I don't know. I know for some people, they're definitely happier, like who are oppressed by Mormonism. But again, straight white male, like,
right.
I like Mormonism was friendly to me personally. So I just coffee has changed my life, and
yeah.
And Sunday and Mormonism follow a strict Sabbath. So Sunday is now like having a second Saturday. And so those two things, anyway,
makes a big difference.
Where did Angela go? Is that her name? Angela?
Yeah, she exited for a moment. so I guess your story about your church experience there, where you kind of were like, yeah, that's not really, he doesn't really deserve the praise for this being humble thing. That reminds me of something you talked about recently on your show, where you don't really appreciate or don't like it when people get praise for things they don't necessarily deserve.
Oh man,
I wanted to ask you about this because that was hilarious to me. The certain schools that are kind of half-ass schools are getting praise as though they're the tops or whatever.
Well, first of all, I would say I just think overall we want to keep our standards really high for what we want to pat ourselves on the back for. Only, or at least that's just how I am because I don't know. Actually, there's not a reason. That's just naturally how I am. I think the advantages of that are that it maybe keeps you chasing something better and better. But like, so, and also don't brag about where you went to school. That's fucking weird. But if you're going to brag, if you're going to do it, which please, for the love of God, don't. But if you're going to do it, don't brag about going to Brigham Young University. Jesus Christ. Like,
of Latter-day Saints.
It's like Jesus Christ, Latter-day Saints. See, I'm not going to swear like that. It's just too. It's a goddamn mouthful.
It's one too many words.
I just put my hand in my mouth and said Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Sounds dirty.
That's what I was doing, and I'm sorry. I know I made a promise earlier.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, thanks. So yeah, I tried. That's what, like on the podcast, I talked about how I legitimately, like when I graduated from both my undergrad and my graduate degree, like going to the graduation ceremony and literally feeling nothing. No, Mike, you did a good job. No
pride at all.
Like legitimately felt fucking nothing. I was, if you looked at me at the graduation ceremony, you would have seen a vast sea of gowns and my gown sitting on my lap.
Wow.
Yes, but
Did you even put on the gown?
Well, it got hot, so I took it off. But anyway, I'm just a cool dude, too cool for school, as they say. So, but it's kind of like I feel like I'm kind of a little too snobby about it. Like I need to let people have their enjoy their satisfaction, because part of me is like that thing that keeps me from being proud of myself in moments like that probably keeps me from being. I'm probably a little less happy as a result. Like I'm perpetually dissatisfied. Perpetually, nothing's ever good enough. I think we all are to a degree.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah.
I think I suffer from it a little. Maybe it's like it's the artist. I think a lot of artists are that way. So
there was a bit on the Jim Jeffries show, just this most recent episode, where he's like in front of a bunch of kids and he says, "Success doesn't make you happy. I'm very successful and I'm fucking miserable."
I saw that. It was very awesome.
Well, I also would say this. Usually people, this offends me a little bit. Not offends is a strong word. This annoys me. It annoys me more than the woman in front of me when I was in line in graduation who was crying because she was so proud of herself. But
I heard you tell
what annoys
story.
me is, people who you guys didn't listen to a real episode of our podcast. We're kind of on a hiatus, so we're doing these informal conversational shows because my co-host is having a baby like this week, and they just moved into a house, and he does all the editing. And anyway,
is he Arnold Schwarzenegger having a baby, or?
He's not having a baby.
You knew what I meant.
Yeah.
We asked the tough questions here.
Yeah, it's just.
I want to understand.
You guys are just testing how woke I am. And was the test that I failed. Now, anyway, what annoys me is people use the term success to mean money.
Yeah.
They always like that doesn't. I legitimately, it's not something I train myself out of. I don't define success as having money. This is going to quickly turn into a really obnoxious, motivational speaker sounding opinion.
Let's do it. Let's go there.
But no, I think success. Success is when you really enjoy what you do. So that guy says like, I'm successful, I'm miserable. I'm like, no, you just fucking went for the money. Like that's not like. I mean, more power to you, I guess. But that's not how I can live my life. But hey, if you guys want to give me money, I'm not gonna say no.
I'm not turning down the money.
Like as I say, money. In my experience, money ruins people. But I would love the opportunity to prove that theory wrong.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
I can get behind that.
Yeah, I guess something that annoys me too is like the the identifying with the job that you have, like especially when we have a lot of like oil field workers or like random blue collar guys that their job is who they are and they're very proud of that job. And it's just like, well, I mean, I'm not proud of my job. They could technically train a monkey to do what I do.
Yeah, that's so it's weird. So I have some conflicting, I don't know if they're opinions, but feelings. I would say I have conflicting feelings about that because I really identify with being a creative person. That's like, I want, like, if there was a list of 5 things I'd want to be known as, like, I want nice guy to be like number 10, but I want creative to be number, I don't want nice guy to make the list is my point. I want, creative guy. I'm such a nice guy. It always makes the list, and I fucking hate it. I've been trying to be an asshole my whole adult life, and I fail miserably. But anyway, so I just want that to be the number one thing I'm known for. But I also hate my profession deeply. The architecture is a profession. I even argue that it's not a creative profession, and I argue that architecture is definitively the lowest of the arts. I do enjoy what I do, but I have this weird thing where I just have to hate every organization that I'm part of. It's like I can't. I don't know what it is. What's up?
What are your arguments for saying that it's the lowest form of art?
Sure. Well, so architecture. My argument, and don't get me wrong, I can respect arguments that would say otherwise. I would say that when done professionally, I'm only including professional architecture and professional painting and sculpture. I'm not talking about your grandma's painting of a rose bush
or that doily that she made me.
Yeah, I'm talking about.
Fuck you, Nana. That was shit work.
Yeah, God, I hate.
Do it again.
I hope is she dead?
One of them is.
Okay, good.
I want no part of this. I love my grandma.
Well, okay, good. Well, you know what I hate? Oh, she doesn't make any more goddamn doilies.
See, I think that's the problem. She never made me a fucking doily.
Wait, that's why you love your grandma?
Possibly.
Good.
That's a new theory that I just came up with.
Let's get your hey, time out. Let's get your grandma on the phone.
Actually, they're also both dead.
Oh no!
Oh, good. Hey, all my grandparents.
I have a step grandma.
I'm thinking this could turn interesting. We have an atheist podcast where we have to get a medium in here to contact your grandmother to talk about a doily.
I can joke about dead grandparents because mine are all dead. You see, they all died before I was born, though, so they died before I could love them. So it's not the same.
Easy way out.
Fun fact: my great grandfather was a polygamist. My dad's grandfather was a polygamist. Just two.
Just two.
So it wasn't like super cool polygamist.
That's polygamist light.
Yeah,
or polygamist lazy.
I was telling a story.
Yes, that's right. You were.
Architecture.
Just one more.
Architecture is the lowest. So if you take painting, professional painting, on its average, pretty good. Pretty goddamn good. Professional sculpture on its average, fuck yeah, man. Professional architecture on average, vomit. Like horse shit terrible.
Sometimes it's really bad.
A goddamn embarrassment.
Don't come here. Don't come here.
Architecture done by architects is almost always embarrassing. And so that's why I'd argue it's the lowest of the arts. But guys, listen to me. When architecture is good, that rare moment when it's good, God, it's so good. I love it.
Like that guy in Europe that made a ski hill and a power plant in the same structure.
I think you're talking about Bjarke Ingels, I would want to say.
Yeah.
Yes, he does some good work. Anyway, so when it's good, I do love it. And I will always be chasing good architecture my whole career. I'll rarely achieve it because doing good architecture is very collaborative. That's the thing that makes me jealous about painting and stuff is they can just kind of pull whatever in their brain and get it out there where, collaboration is fine. Don't get me wrong, but I'm just saying it's like so much is involved to try to make it good, especially money.
So do you have to be like super rich or super experienced or super high up in a given firm to be able to like make those big decisions and like steer a project?
I mean, it just involves a lot of clout to do it. It involves, there's a lot that comes together. You have to be the easiest part of doing good architecture is being talented, and that's pretty fucking hard already. But that's the easiest part. The convincing clients to give you money, convincing like and convincing them to take a little bit of risk, like especially in a market like mine in Utah that's a little more conservative. It just takes a lot, and it can be done. I'm not saying it can't be, but it pays. There's a large toll to be paid. But I'm pretty happy with the design autonomy I have at my firm. I'm not some big important. I'm not a partner or anything. I graduated 5 years ago. Okay. But I still get to do some fun designs. So yeah, cool. I'm not changing the world, but I do. I'm proud of some of the work I do.
That's cool.
So it is a thing that you feel.
Yeah. So I'm proud. Like, for example, I wasn't proud of my degree, but I was proud of some of the work I did while in college. Plenty of it. Anytime I do anything good, I'm proud of my podcast. Like, am I changing the world? No. Like, is it the best podcast? No, but it's a thing that, like, to me, like a degree, for example, is just saying that I showed up. You know, where to me, like anything I do that's like, I don't know, that's creative or like that goes. I'm not sure how to describe it. Where I'm kind of going beyond what I think one should reasonably expect to do in their free time is where I feel like, good job, buddy. Proud of you, buddy. Anyway,
fair enough.
Well,
I wanted to be an architect when I was younger. I wanted to be an architect.
Everybody did. Yeah, it's common, but it's really so. The big reason what happens is people want to be architects. First of all, they always say this. They're always like, "I wanted to be an architect, but I'm not good at math." And I'm like, "Oh boy, I never do math. Nobody does math." People who are good at math tend to be really good at good at the project management, problem solving side of architecture, which is extremely important. Mm-hmm. But an architecture degree is like an art degree, and but the thing is, like, it just doesn't pay what people think. I was in college for 7 years. Starting salary in Los Angeles out of UCLA, where I went, was $41,000 a year with a master's degree. So I'm saying, and some serious student debt. So I'm saying there's people see those numbers. They see like what it takes, because after school you still have to to get your license. You still have to take a bunch of exams and do years of hours. So I'm saying it's a whole ordeal. And, so anyway, you did the right thing, Angela.
Thank you. Well,
thank God.
I still think about it sometimes. I still think somewhat longingly, like, oh man, I wish I could do that sort of thing, because there's a lot of buildings here that have character, and
go do it.
It's
go back to school for
I'm poor.
What's your problem?
I'm poor. I don't have a sugar daddy or a wealthy benefactor. I'm not a trophy wife, so I can't do it. I'm a lowly transcriptionist.
Don't talk about yourself that way. Everybody tell Angela you think she's beautiful.
Why are you putting me on the spot like that? I could be a trophy wife. I could be.
Now it's become a phone-in show.
Tell Angela you think she's beautiful, unless you don't feel that way. Go.
I think your grandma's proud of you.
We're going to get the emails.
And she
Listeners
loves you very
are going to say it.
Listeners, please tweet at Angela or email
tweet it,
letting her know that you would be proud to have her as your trophy wife. But please don't do it unless you have like a household income above
$1 million.
I mean, let's not get greedy. You're not a $1 million trophy wife, okay? Goodness.
Got to reach for the stars, man.
Just don't be proud of yourself when you get there. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
Right.
No.
Existential, just.
It's one of the deadly sins.
Yeah.
Pride, yeah.
So you have a podcast.
I have a podcast, yeah.
So why don't you tell us? How long have you guys been doing the show?
We're on episode 102, I want to say. There's somewhere thereabouts. we do once a week. So that's, roughly 102 weeks. Like I said, because of our schedule right now where it's a sporadic publishing, all in all, I bet we will end up having like 2 months of kind of irregularity before things settle down. But so it's a comedy news show. It's not explicitly atheist. It does come up a lot, but it's more of a focus on comedy, less so than probably news. We actually started as a serious like show. Like when we started, we were like, we're going to be more of like a news podcast, and we even had a producer who helped out, and he was chief policy writer for the U.S. Senate. And we were trying to be kind of wonks, but like when being informed isn't your full-time job, goddamn, that was like good like news podcasts are done by by news people, not by amateurs. So it was like so much work that we shifted away from that into the focus on the comedy. So we have like segments like Trumped Up, where you have to spot the fake Trump quote. We have Stupid Shit My Friends Post, where our listeners submit like stupid memes, conservative memes that we make fun of. And then we just cover weird news. Anyway, but the podcast started because we were toying with it. And then when the LDS Church announced in November 2 years ago that they wouldn't allow the children of homosexuals to be baptized in their church. I don't know if you knew about this.
Yeah.
We were so upset about it, specifically my co-host, that he was like, I don't care. We'll figure out what our podcast is later. Right. We're just going to record right now. He's like, get a mic, record. We're recording tomorrow. And so we didn't even have a name. And that's how it started.
That's kind of how you have to do it almost. Yeah. Just got to decide.
Yeah. Although, to be fair, if you're trying to do a serious news show, right now the news is so fucked up, it just turns into comedy anyway. It's just that's the thing. Our Trumped Up, where we do the fake Trump quotes. Well, it's one of four. Like it ends up being like legit news, but it's like real always. It's sad funny, but I'm saying it's funny because it's ridiculous. So anyway, but we haven't been doing Trumped Up lately because that's part of our hiatus. We're just trimming them down now. Like our last episode, we were just talking.
It was entertaining, even though you guys were just talking. I found it entertaining.
Thank you. And I enjoy it. I actually enjoy that format very much. I don't know if the bulk of our listeners do. There are podcasts that are strictly like two people talking that I enjoy, but we'll see. Maybe, who knows? Maybe we evolve. But I am starting a second podcast, guys.
Oh, tell us more. Tell us more.
First off, you need to listen to the episode, or the second to last episode, where I read. So right now, let me just back up. This is only available for patrons. I'm not trying to plug people donating right now, but I'm saying I read from my Mormon mission journal. So
really?
And it's ridiculous. So I read from it, and Justin we make fun of it, and like I've got it right here actually. This Mormon mission journal, and
nice.
And it's absurd. I was 19 to 21, and it's not public. It's only available to our patrons. But because our schedule was, what it was, we decided to publish one of them to the public. But my co-host is just Justin's a lot more private, and I don't think he doesn't want that to be its. He and I, how would I put it? No, that's actually not the way I would word it. Justin is too busy, I would say, to have a second podcast. His life is too crazy. Right. And so
with a baby,
because we've decided that this Mission Journal podcast is way better than Poorly Summarized. And
wow.
We want it to be public, but it's just like, we don't want to drop Poorly Summarized. Justin's too, he's just got too crazy of a life. So I'm going to start it with someone else, its own podcast where I read from my Mormon Mission Journal, and the idea is we'll invite guests on, and they'll read their Mormon Mission Journals, and it is amazing.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm going to be famous. I'm going to forget all of you when I get there.
Yeah.
Just don't whip your dick out.
No, my goal is I just want to make enough money so that Angela will be my trophy wife.
And then I can go to architecture school and be just as jaded as you.
Also, I'll support you through architecture school is what I'm saying. We've got some hurdles. I'm currently married. I'm saying these are hurdles.
You can take after your grandpa and be a polygamist.
My great grandpa polygged, and
I'll be your long distance wife married to somebody else, and then we'll be just fine. That'll be great.
So anyway, that's my podcast.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah,
it is legitimately one of the funniest shows that I listen to.
That is very flattering to say.
Cory listens to a lot of podcasts. I don't know if you know this about him, but
I don't.
He does all the things except for maybe cook. I don't hear about him cooking much, but he works his ass off, and then he listens to podcasts, and then he goes to the gym, like some of us binge watch Netflix.
Cory, what are the odds that we can convince you to take that shirt off?
There are no odds.
No, zero. Okay.
Because this is a podcast.
No. Well, I'm looking. That's what I'm saying. I'm watching. Fine. Don't keep it on. Just send me some pics.
We were just talking about pics earlier.
You can. Yeah. I love getting pics. Don't say it, guys. Nobody swear to God. Now, anyway, where was I? I was saying, so thank you for saying so. I never get sick of compliments. Are you guys with me? I never get sick of people tweeting compliments. Hint, hint.
Right.
I never get sick of people tweeting compliments. I love it.
I've never gotten any of those.
Yeah, nobody does that for our show.
Well, what is this word you speak of?
Tweeting compliments?
This requires...
You guys, wait. Sorry, you guys don't get like 50 to 100 tweets a day talking about how great your show is?
No, we do not.
Oh, yeah. Me neither.
You get those? Tell us more.
No.
What are those like? What's it like to be famous?
You have to be funny.
All I'm saying is that I just want to be able to go to a restaurant without my meal being interrupted requesting an autograph. But, such is the price.
That's the price you pay. Yeah. Because podcasting is so glamorous.
Because everyone knows a podcaster's face. That's right. Everyone.
And I hope you're proud of yourself.
You know what, you guys get me.
You're welcome back on the show anytime.
You bet.
Good.
I was talking to Rene and Angela at supper. I was telling them about the first episode I ever listened to of your show. And you were telling a story about rats in your house.
God. Oh, that's a doozy. Okay, go on.
So maybe you can tell the story of the rats that sat on your shoulder.
Okay. You guys have seen Stranger Things, right?
Nope.
Okay, that's okay. But Stranger Things 2, one of the themes is no parental supervision anywhere. And that was my life growing up in the 80s and 90s, was like no rules. Wow. So in light of that, we had rats. Now, you're like, okay, other kids with rules had pet rats. Sure, rats, frankly, are cute. They're fucking cute, and they're smart. They actually make great pets. But what made us a little different, just a little 1 degree different than everybody else, is that we didn't have a cage for the rats.
How many rats did you have?
Just let me set this up.
I'll just let you talk, man.
I feel uncomfortable actually shushing a woman. It's I feel it makes me feel sexy.
It's okay.
It was a jokey.
It's okay.
It was a jokey shh, not a mansplaining shh. They didn't have cages. We had 2. We started with 2. And they just ran around the room. They just shit wherever they want. And the room smelled, but you get used to it. And then they had babies, as animals do. and they had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 babies. They had 9 babies plus mom and dad.
11.
That was 11 goddamn rats in my small ass room, and then it became 10 when I accidentally squished one in the door.
Oof.
Oh.
That still makes me sad thinking about that. I shouldn't joke. I'm oddly sensitive. I may be a kind of a nice asshole, but like I can't literally like swat a fly. It hurts my feelings. So when I think about any time I've hurt an animal, it breaks my dead heart. But
you can't even
anyway,
squish a spider?
So here's
you vegetarian.
Here's what we do. No, I can't do it. It's not a more. I can't do the dirty work. I can fucking eat it. It's delicious.
No, I just want to clarify. Okay, keep going.
Yeah,
keep going. I don't mean to derail.
To be clear, vegetarian is morally superior. Eating meat is hands down the most immoral thing I do. But fuck it, I'm not a good person. I don't give a shit.
Bacon is delicious.
God, so I can be as bad as I want.
Exactly.
Anyway, bacon. Oh God, bacon's great. So anyway. Remember when they said that bacon causes cancer?
Yeah.
When this came out, I was like, "Fuck that! I will choke to death on bacon."
And everybody was
way
like, "We
before
don't
it kills
care."
me of cancer.
And it got more expensive, and there were shortages of bacon.
Bacon will kill me, but it's because I'm going to choke to death on it, not because of the cancer. But anyway,
yes.
Sorry, I just wanted to make more euphemistic jokes about choking on meat. So. Where was I? I was
circuitous dick jokes. I like it.
Thank you. We're meant to be, Angela. Now,
long distance
the
high five.
story is just getting started. You haven't heard the worst part of the story.
Okay. Please share.
You've heard the part. The part where they're shitting all over my room and we're just fucking like Lord of the Flies at my house. That's just fucking the 80s, okay? This is what I do. I'd walk into the room and I'd go with my mouth. Which meant I was putting saliva into my mouth, and my rat would run up and perch on my shoulder, and then he'd drink the spit right out of my mouth. All right. Hey, listen. I don't need any of you assholes judging me.
No.
Right?
I'm judging you.
I don't need God judging me. For God, you better not judge me. I was a child. I was a child. Okay?
You didn't know any different.
I was like 13. Okay?
Yeah.
I blame that on Mormonism.
So when do you guys want to talk about the fact that I waited till I was 22 to masturbate? 23.
You waited that long?
I'm sorry, segues. I meant to.
I was super churchy, and I did not wait that long.
Well,
I was guilty the whole time, but it was way earlier.
I'm just saying, don't fuck with my youthful Mormon faith because it was rock solid and pun. Anyway, I was super Mormon, guys. Super Mormon, rats and all.
Apparently.
Amazing.
Mm-hmm. When I was on cognitive dissonance a while back, that was like the first. That's like how. It was like by way of introduction. Yeah. Like with the Poorly Summarized podcast, didn't masturbate till I was 23. So, any other questions?
That was part of your bio.
Yeah, I should put that in my work bio.
and then as the benefit is that you show self-restraint and discipline.
No, that's the thing. It's a way of saying discipline.
Yeah. It's an example. You can use that in interviews and stuff as well.
Unless you're making up for lost time now.
I mean,
why are you late again?
I'm not comfortable talking about this, guys. But if you want to watch...
so how do we turn this camera off?
It's shoulders up. It's fine.
Oh God. So I forget what I'm saying very easily. I've smoked zero weed, but you wouldn't know that by how much I keep forgetting what I was talking about. Let's see.
You're talking about your pet rats.
I think we wrapped them all up pretty well.
So what happened? Did you stay in that house for a long time? Like how long?
No, my mom's still in that house. The rats. I don't know what happened. That's funny. I have no idea how that story ended.
Because did you ever see that comedy bit?
It was on eventually.
There was a comedy bit on Conan where she was talking about how, did you ever like realize something after the fact that when you were kids, something that happened was super weird? Like we talked it out at a barbecue, like, oh, we had to wear a muzzle at night or something like that. It's like, oh, that's really weird.
Oh, things about guess so. My thing, this isn't that weird, but I remember I didn't know that people use sheets until I was an adult and moved out. You didn't know this? Never.
You just slept right on the mattress?
Right on the mattress. I had rats in my room. Okay, here's the guys. Rats running wild and free, like Mustangs.
They were there. Your little buddies.
That's up here. Down here near the ground is no sheets. So if you're gonna judge me for sheets,
this is intriguing to me.
Problem, not mine, okay?
No, I'm interested about this.
That got a little too hot, a little too quickly.
I feel like you're getting a wee bit antagonistic here.
Are you? Don't get defensive, man.
This somehow became a therapy session.
It's like, don't you fucking dare.
Are you mad at your dad? Are you mad at your dad?
That because thanks for bringing it up. It's a sore subject. It's been 6 years. I mean,
Mike, it's not your fault.
Time heals wounds, but yeah, I mean, there are things I wish I'd said to him before he died, but I didn't. And now he's dead, and there's no heaven, so I can't.
Mike, it's not your fault.
Okay, well,
it's not your fault.
So yeah, sheets. Who else has either a dead dad to make fun of? Or
my dad's alive,
stories about growing up, or an alive dad they wish was a dead or a dead dad, or stories about their childhood that were totally not normal but seemed normal at the time. Well, for example, I'm going to give you a second thing. I was Mormon. All right, now your guys' turn.
I grew up Mennonite.
No, shut your mouth. You grew up Mennonite. You're making that up right now.
I grew up Mennonite. My dad grew up in like a cultish part of Mennonite stuff.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
How old were you when you left?
When I left, when I was probably about 17, when I graduated.
I'm so jealous. I have this weird pride where people are like, "Yeah, I grew up religious, but I overcame it," and I'm like, "Motherfucker, please!" Like, you don't talk to me when you were Mormon and didn't masturbate till you're 23.
I was super steeped.
I don't need to hear about your Catholic upbringing and you went to church twice a year and shut your mouth. Mennonites though, like
their food is good.
Mennonites make Mormonism look like Berkeley.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
It's true. It's fucking true.
God bless you.
They
Angela.
put white gravy on everything, but damn it, they're weird.
Yeah. White gravy's cool. Wow.
It's so good.
Anyway.
Gravy is good.
That farmer sausage, man.
Love gravy.
I love sausage. Sorry, I need to grow the fuck up. Like, seriously, that wasn't even funny. That was an objectively, I'm embarrassed right now. I'm embarrassed, not because it was inappropriate, because that was stupid. That joke was the exact same joke I would have made when I was 12 and had rats in my room. Exact same joke.
Sausage Timmy? I'm not sure what your rat's name was, but
my rat's name was Shubby Shar. I do remember that.
Shubby Shar?
Shubby Shar. Yeah, I didn't make it up. Somebody else did.
That sounds like some kind of pagan name. Like the Shar. That's not Mormon, is it?
I don't know where it came from. It was so. That's another thing in my house. We always had my friends, my siblings' friends living with us. They didn't ask my parents. They just would suddenly be living with us. And so my brother's friend lived with us, and he named the rat Shubby Shar. And I think maybe he ultimately moved out and took the rats with him. I think that's what happened. But side note, you want to know who else lived with us? Previously, you guys are supposed to say who?
Sure, yeah.
Who?
Sure.
Please do tell. Do tell.
Share more.
Famous, not any longer. I think she's retired. Porn actress Michelle Sinclair with the porn name of Belladonna. Do you guys have a laptop?
Yeah, you're on it.
Belladonna. No, she got porn star of the year in the 2000s.
Good for
her.
her.
I had a huge crush on her. And it's funny. This is related to Mormonism too, because I remember when I found out she was doing porn. My shock.
That's when he started masturbating.
I hadn't masturbated yet. I was 21 when I found out. I found out in one of my college classes. We watched a 2020 episode of 2020. I don't know if that's in Canada, but it's like a new show. And she was like interviewed on it.
I think I saw that.
That's how I found out. My like high school friend. She was my sister's best friend. Was doing pornography, but my shock wasn't her doing pornography was my number 2 shock. My number 1 shock was that she was doing pornography that involved other women. Women on women, like lesbian. That was
the worst.
Michelle might be a lesbian. Oh, by the way, she's also a famous porn actress. But like, forget that. Like, we'll talk about that.
Right.
But isn't Mormon country like the hub of access to porn? Isn't that like? Don't Mormons access it more than anybody else? I thought there was.
I think it's popular here. I haven't looked. Yeah, I've heard like per capita big consumers of porn. Hey, what are you guys' favorite websites? I'm sorry, what?
I'm just going to say I did read an article on that apparently Salt Lake City and the surrounding area is one of the highest consumers of porn, and on top of that, one of the highest consumers of homosexual porn, for that matter, in the United States. Like it's up there. I'm not sure if it like how close to the top, but it's pretty high up there, like higher than the Mormons would like it to be.
That's why they were trying to ban it.
Any at all would probably be higher than the Mormons.
And
like
I also heard that there's a website now or a group that is making porn that's geared to Mormons.
Yeah, of course. There's porn for everything. What's that? That's rule. What's the internet rule that there's porn for everything?
Like
rule 38 or something.
Rule 34 or something like that.
Yeah,
34. Yeah. Anyway, could we actually all take a break to look at some Mormon porn? I'm saying we'll talk about it. We'll watch it. We'll talk it. Listen, I'm concerned about quality content. This will be funny. It'll be like instead of this is
strictly
a third
for
podcast.
research purposes.
How about this, guys? This is going to be my third podcast. The second one's going to be the Mission Journal reading. The third one is I watch Mormon porn and talk about it.
Porn review.
Yeah.
Mormon porn review podcast.
Mormon porn review.
You could also just call it the Missionary Position Journal or something. You know?
Well done.
I respect that joke. I feel like we should just end the episode right there.
We can't. Can we? Oh.
Yeah, actually, we got to ask you to plug your stuff, and then actually we are running up on our hour long.
Okay.
So.
All right. I did plug it already. Oh, yeah. You want to know where to find me, maybe?
Sure. Yeah,
I'm poorlysummarized.com is our website. If you ever want to see my art, just by chance, that's www. Why did I say W? Like, who the fuck says that? I'm just new to the internet. If you want to see my art, just for whatever, you can't buy it. I don't have a store or anything, but it's POINT, and then the number 2, and then 0 spelled out, ZERO. So 0.20. 0.20 is the size of millimeters of the smallest micron pen. But anyway, 0.20.com. And then I'm personally on Twitter. It's called @probablyforsale. And so you can follow me there. And anybody can friend me on Facebook. If you don't look like a sex bot, I will accept your friend request. And if you are accept a sex bot, I'll still be flattered. That
my profile pic is pretty badass right now. I might look like a sex bot. No, I don't.
Oh, so yeah, but but you're gonna have a hard time finding me on Facebook because my name's Mike Smith. But I don't know what to tell you to do to find me on Facebook. Just look for this.
So you've got good stuff here, man.
What's good
on 0.20?
Your art.
Oh, thank you very much, Angela. If it sells really well, ultimately, I'll pay for your architecture school. So anyway, that's
I'm gonna
my
hold
stuff
you
plugged.
to that.
Awesome. Thanks for coming on. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, great time, guys.
Take care. Have a good night.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Cheers.
Where's the button? Okay, we're gonna go to a commercial break.
There you're on it.
Am I just hanging up?
Yeah, we're just gonna hang. See you later. All right.
If you like what we're doing and want to help us keep the lights on, go become a patron at patreon.com/Brainstorm Podcast. You can hear the bonus half hour that we record every episode and get a shout out when you support the show. Become a patron for just $1 an episode at patreon.com/Brainstorm Podcast. Or you can support the show by ordering a t-shirt, mug or other gear from our store at caffeepress.ca/Brainstorm Podcast Gear. If you can't afford to become a patron or buy gear, then why not give us a rating or write a review on iTunes or Stitcher? Every rating makes it easier for people to find us. Thanks for your support.
We are given one life, full of billions of small and large decisions. To be somebody, to change, to be kind, to give hope, to become a better person, and to leave a lasting impact on this planet. It is a decision to be made every single day while your heart is still beating. We've made our decision. Absence of Clothing, atheist and science-based apparel and merchandise, donating 50% of our profits to charity. Look good and feel good, without God. Check us out at absenceofclothing.com and find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Pinterest for discount codes and other sweet swag.
Use the code BRAINSTORM at absenceofclothing.com and get 10% off. The Hardcore Skeptic Examines is a bi-monthly documentary-style podcast that includes interviews, research, and commentary from your host, Cory Johnston. That's me. As the host of the Brainstorm podcast, I've spent the last 3+ years trying to spread critical thinking and skepticism while having fun. This project is intended to look at some of those same topics covered by Brainstorm, but a bit deeper. With the long intervals between episodes and the long format, I'm hoping to provide good information that educates as well as entertains. Check out my Patreon for more details at www.patreon.com/hardcoreskeptic or follow my Twitter at hardcoreskeptic.
Hey y'all, this is Tucker from the Atheist in the Trailer Park podcast. And I might live in a beer can, but I ain't no inbred redneck. And if you listen to my podcast, I'm gonna learn you something. And no, I ain't talking about how to marry your cousin and not have kids with 16 fingers and stuff like that. I mean, I actually talk about real stuff and teach people where the Bible stole its stories from. So y'all give me a listen, would you? Thank you.
I think we're back. All right, we're back.
We're back.
I just want to, before we get into the show, I want to say thanks again to Mike for coming on. That was a ton of fun.
That was so much fun.
Not to speak ill of our previous guests, but that's one of the best guests we've had in a while. He's very hilarious
engaging
guy and very, very fun.
He definitely spins a good yarn.
So we're going to do a new-ish segment that we kind of kicked off a few weeks ago. We're going to call this Fuck You, You're Cool.
Still waiting on that heifer, Julio. Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. You're cool. And fuck you, I'm out.
Yes, that's right. So my fuck you this week is for the activist mummy, Elizabeth Johnston. She is apparently...
No relation.
No relation.
Yeah.
And even if she was related, she deserves this fuck you so much. Like, she's just an awful, awful person.
Tell us more.
She's a relatively well-known Christian blogger who is constantly outraged about modern society and sex. And, anything modern, secular, or sexual. She recently had a big campaign where she would burn printed copies of Teen Vogue in response to an online article on the Teen Vogue website that talked about anal sex.
Wow.
Oh, she was that one.
Yeah, she bought a bunch of Teen Vogue magazines so she could burn them, which... seems
that worked awesome for the Beatles and Kiss and all those other ones that they smashed the records. They
right.
Fuck if I care. You already bought them.
Exactly.
Stupid fucking protest.
Actually, Teen Vogue is now currently going out of print, or is no longer going to be printed. And so she's busy claiming victory over Teen Vogue now. Mm-hmm. This is now something that she's successfully done.
I highly doubt it was her.
Yes. Yeah. There's apparently been many rumors of them shutting down for a very long time.
But that's not the only magazine that's doing that.
Yeah,
other magazines
right.
are going online only, like Teen Vogue is.
But the reason that I'm saying fuck you to her this time is because the Texas shooter, I don't remember his name, but he shot 26 people in a church, and he was an atheist, and he liked the page The Friendly Atheist. And so she went on a Twitter spree blaming Hemant Mehta, the Friendly Atheist, for this shooting spree and claiming that all atheists have no moral compass and this and that and the other thing. And basically just a total nonsense.
Yeah. It's not that this guy was a shit human being who'd already been, dishonorably discharged for beating up his girlfriend,
right?
Shit kicking the baby. No, it's an atheist. He
It's
stood
'cause
at the
he's
front
an
of the
atheist.
church, and I believe in nothing.
Yeah, that's right.
No.
Yeah.
And we could also say fuck you to that guy.
Oh yeah, fuck you to that guy too, for sure.
While we're
throwing out fuck yous.
Yeah.
So Elizabeth Johnston, activist mommy, fuck you. My You're Cool is for Danica Rome, one of the many exceptional people who won their elections on November 7th. She's a metal singer, a journalist, an activist for social justice, and the first transgender person to join the Virginia House of Delegates. So, very cool.
That's pretty effing sweet.
Who else has a fuck you and a you're cool? Anybody?
I can go the next.
All right.
I can do next.
Angela, you're up.
My fuck you, I have a bunch in my head, but I think I'll just pick one. It's going to be local.
Okay.
The education minister this week was quoted as saying that her grade 8 son had been told in school that his ancestors were not the nicest people. And she took issue with that. She suggested that maybe we need to be a little bit more sympathetic of settlers, and they weren't all bad. And we need to maybe have the course, like the education about First Nations people as directed by the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. We need to have it be one high school class as opposed to like throughout all of our education. Excuse me. And it just reeked of white guilt and
trying to
like white fragility. Like we weren't dicks, but yeah, that's how it was. Like she just was completely unapologetic, and it was really stupid. And I say fuck you to her because it's not about that.
Yeah.
It's not about her. Sorry.
Fair enough.
A coughing fit. My You're Cool is I just finished a book called Shrill by Lindy West, and it was pretty awesome because she's a writer, and she was deep in the comedy circuit, and she campaigned to have people not tell rape jokes in comedy and stuff, and the whole Tosh.0 thing. He told a rape joke, and it created a media storm of sorts, and she wrote about it, and she debated on live TV. It was really cool. I'd say you're cool to her because her book is really awesome, and it was very cool in a feminist, fat person kind of a way. So yeah.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
What was her name?
Lindy West.
Lindy West.
I have the book if anybody wants to borrow it.
I have about 600 books in my reading list.
600?
Well, at least. So
that's a lot of books.
That will be added onto it.
It was an easy read. Like, it was one of those, because I haven't finished a book in a really long time. And I will say that about this book. Like, I read it when I was traveling to Ottawa and back. And I managed to finish it when I got home. And it's just one of those books that's really easy to read. And you can pick it up and put it down.
Cool.
And it wasn't like heavy. It was funny as hell in some spots and really heartbreaking in others. But it was just really good.
Right on. All right, who's next? Leo? Rene?
Well, I didn't really prepare that much for this segment, but the one thing that irked me, speaking of education, the fucking Alberta Homeschool Association, whatever the fuck they're called, like
inviting Ken Ham.
Fuck Ken Ham. And that's all I have to say about that. Like, fuck.
Yeah, everybody who listens to this show probably knows who Ken Ham is. So, yeah,
I should have expected it, but for some reason when I saw that, it just fucking pissed me off.
Didn't they invite somebody else who was shitty not that long ago too?
Yes, I was just reading about that. I can't remember who it was, but last year at this exact same conference, they booked someone else that was just as shitty and got just as much.
So this is just their thing. They just invite shitty people.
Well, it's all homeschooled Christian shitheads.
Well, I think we should just have them get like an anti-vax person next year or something. Like just invite all the bullshit.
Yeah, why not?
Okay, on today's, we're going to have an anti-vax here, we're going to have a psychic, and Ken fucking Ham. Welcome to the shit show.
And to top it all off, bring in the crystals.
You get a crystal, you get a crystal, you get a crystal.
And just for something different, you get the salt lamp.
The South African Himalayan salt.
It's a very, I've been told it's a very soft light.
It's very flattering. Just makes your skin look so soft and even toned. Can I have obsidian and rose quartz, please? Those two. Those are the crystals.
Those are the crystals.
And on that same note, I would just like to say that our new Governor General, I do agree that that's maybe not the job of the Governor General, but maybe we need it. Like maybe it should be the job of the Governor General.
You don't think that she should just be like a puppet, or just
well, that's what the whole thing is. Like it's
a glorified rubber stamper. That's what it is.
It's meant to be a puppet. Like nobody should care about the opinion of the Governor General because it's like.
It's symbolic. It's symbolic.
So Adrienne Clarkson was
symbolic.
The Governor General at one point,
Yeah,
and she was involved with the arts. That was her passion as a Governor General before she became a Governor General, and then during. So how fair is it to her that she was like, "Oh, that's good art." I'm triggered because fuck it, I like that shit better.
Well, I was completely fine when she said it. Like,
Me too. I was too.
I just think that we need to stop having governor generals because I really hate the monarchy. And by the way, I would like to say fuck the Queen as well. I really hate.
We're saying fuck you to people.
Yeah, while we do that, I just really hate the whole idea of monarchy.
I'm right there with you.
I would say the governor general is cool.
I guess for the listeners who might not know what. We should let them know.
Canada
what she
is a
said.
constitutional monarchy. Yeah, and what did she say?
Well, she made a kind of a little bit of a snarky remark of people who believe in creationism, and kind of a little roundabout,
Well, it was also a dig at people that deny climate change,
So it kind of turned into a kind of a jab at just like organized religion type stuff. Yeah. So it was
and flat earthers.
Yeah, it was great. It was great, but it did sound a little bit snarky. which is why people had an issue with.
Well, my personal enjoyment above and beyond even what she said was that it pissed off our premier. Our premier, Brad Wall, he got his feelings all in a knot because
and that's another thing that we should address. Like the outrage came from people who disagreed with her. Yeah. It was not, and then they said that that's not her role. Though I kind of agree that maybe that's not your thing. Sure, but had she made a remark like in their favor. Like that.
Oh yeah, no, they would have never said.
They would
anything.
have like retweeted it and praised it and shit. So there's also hypocrisy, but yeah, there you go. For what it's worth. Yeah.
There we go. All right, Rene.
I didn't really do any homework. So I'll say just because it was in the news that Roy Moore guy, fuck him.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yep. Fuck Roy Moore.
Yeah. A man was kicked off as a judge twice for,
for
not
violating
separating
things.
Not separating church and state, saying shit about Muslims, showing up basically in a cowboy hat and pointing a gun at some conference thing he did.
Oh, that was him.
That was him.
Right.
And apparently doing very inappropriate things to 14-year-old girls, granted 30 or 40 years ago.
But what was his argument?
For doing the inappropriate things?
Yeah. What was his statement about Mary and Joseph?
Oh, was that, I don't know, was that him that said that, or was that one of his supporters that was like,
I'm going to have to check.
I don't know. I haven't seen
it's biblical or whatever because...
But he sort of like disproved the whole virgin birth with a statement.
Oh, is that right?
As though Mary and Joseph had sex. She was super young.
Yeah, I don't know. I hadn't
so
read
that
any
made it
of that
okay.
Stuff.
Yeah, most people will say that Mary was very young when she had Jesus, but then they waited until she was of age before Joseph actually fucked her, which is I don't know. It's a bit of a stretch.
Yeah, I don't know. At any rate, I think
a stretch.
I think the guy's an asshole. Like, fuck Roy Moore.
Agreed. Fuck Roy Moore.
I have no one cool.
You have no one cool. Right. Everybody sucks.
When I first looked at this and it's like, fuck you, you're cool. It's like, fuck everybody. No one is cool.
No one is cool.
Right now, the news is just a fucking wash of shitheads. Like,
yeah.
Everyone in entertainment are a bunch of sexual deviants that it can't keep it in their fucking pants.
Yeah.
And I can't think of anyone cool.
All right, fair enough. So it's 9:52 here. We will go to. We may as well take our music break for live listeners.
Early?
Yeah, a little early.
Fuck.
That has never happened before, and I've been on the podcast for almost 2 years now.
Yeah,
Me
that's
too.
Right. For live listeners and patrons, you can enjoy the next few minutes, and then we'll be back. For regular feed subscribers, this is where we'll end the Skeptic Studio. Remember to check out Shift to Raisin Radio next week to hear listener feedback, new patrons, and iTunes reviews. This episode's music is Turn Soonest to the Sea by Protest the Hero, Build God, Then We'll Talk by Panic at the Disco, and Get Up by Korn and Skrillex. The Facebook page is up to 998 likes. 998 people.
We're going to stay live until that hits 1,000.
Come on now. We need to hit 1,000 likes.
Click those likes.
Click those likes.
I might have to open an additional 2 Facebook pages just to like them. Just 2 fake.
Yeah, that's right. Just click the goddamn button. I'll figure out some cool giveaways for the extra T-shirt I have and some ball caps I have if we hit 1,000. Anybody got a thing to plug that isn't me?
No.
I will plug again my next weekend. I don't think I'm going to head out to LA because it's just too expensive, and I hate Trump. But yeah, if you're in the LA area, next Saturday the 18th, I have a couple films playing at the TCL Chinese Theater.
TCL Chinese Theater.
I think that's what it's. Yeah, that's right by the Walk of Fame.
Cool.
it's a very historic theater. Anyway, for the LA Skins Film Festival. So there's a film called From Up North I did the music for and some of the audio, and then another film called Gas Can that I did location audio and mixing for. So
cool.
If you're in LA, go to TCL Chinese Theater November 18th. Check out the festival. It's really going to be cool.
Nice. I have not done any new episodes of the Hardcore Skeptic Examined series, but I'll get one done soon. I was airing live on the radio, Brainstorm Radio, 2 days in a row this week because of our Spreaker account, we have 3 hours of broadcast time every day. So I could theoretically broadcast any day that I want for 3 hours. So, I mean, they're there on our Spreaker account if people want to check them out. One of them was actually on, yesterday, which was our 4th anniversary. We have been on doing our show for 4 years as of yesterday.
It's a real thing.
It's a real thing. What a waste of time.
Yeah. Quality free since 2013.
Quality free since 2013. Yeah, that's about it. If you follow us on Spreaker, then you will get a notification or an email every time I go live. So just keep your eyes out for that if you want to listen to me ramble on and play some music. I was on Reason Revolution to talk about all kinds of different things. I talked about my deconversion. We talked about podcasting, and we talked about leftists, centrists, and free speech. So that was fun. It was a good conversation. And frankly, I'm getting a little disillusioned with our attempt to get a conference going in Saskatchewan again. I talked about this on my broadcast yesterday. We had a conference in 2016. It took a ton of money, and it took a lot of risk and a lot of trust and hope from for a lot of support from our community. And we're not getting that this time around. So, I mean, hopefully we can get a little bit of support going. You can donate to if you want. GoFundMe.com/Shift to Reason Conference 2018 with dashes in between all the words. Let's hit that outro music. You can check out the show notes at thebrainstormpodcast.com and our website, brainstormblog.net. Thanks to our financial supporters, Aaron, Daryl, Destin, Sucks, Lachlan, Lisa, Magnus, Michael, Nathan, Positively Skeptical, Rob, Stephanie, and Will. If you want to join their ranks and help the show grow, then you can do that at patreon.com/brainstormpodcast. You can join us live every second week when we broadcast live on Spreaker. You can find us at Spreaker.com/user/brainstormpodcast. Our next guests are Aaron Rabi and GW from the Embrace the Void podcast, which should be another great guest. They're incredibly smart people. I want to thank Michael Smith again for joining us today. You can find out more about his podcast at poorlysummarized.com. I'll put a link in the show notes at thebrainstormpodcast.com, and the notes on brainstormblog.net are still a work in progress. But I did redesign the website, so go check that out and see if it's more user-friendly or whatever. Thanks, Dave, for our intro music. Thanks to Alex Kepper-Murdoch for doing the voiceover for the intro and for some of our ads. And thanks to Jason Kamal for our outro music. You can find his stuff at aloststateofmind.com. All music played is either with permission or under the SOCAN license to play. For more information on SOCAN, you can check out the music license info page on our website, brainstormblog.net. Remember to give us a rating, a thumbs up, or a fave on your podcatcher of choice. Join our Facebook group, like our page, follow us on Twitter, share the show, and spread the word. Thanks for listening. For live listeners, we're going to do a bit of an bonus show on mixler.com/The Brainstorm Podcast with dashes in between The Brainstorm Podcast. I fucking hate those dashes. and listen to the bonus content before it goes patron only. Thanks again, and remember, the truth matters.
This is an opinion-based podcast. Each person on the podcast is responsible for their own opinions, and those opinions don't necessarily reflect the views of the rest of the panel. Any guests or anyone associated with the people on the podcast, such as spouses, partners, children, other family members, friends, or employers. No one person speaks for the podcast with the possible exception of Cory, and he doesn't speak for anyone else on the show. The Brainstorm podcast does not represent the views of our sponsors.
We just wanted to say thanks to everyone who listens to us, shares the show, gives us a rating on iTunes or Stitcher, or supports us through Patreon and Gumroad. We don't have a lot of interactions with our listeners, but what we have had proves that we attract some of the best people around. Smart, kind, and cool. An audience truly worthy of the titles hardcore and woo-free. Thanks for helping us make the world a smarter place.
Are you still there?
Oh, no. What happened?
Is the laptop plugged in?
Oh, no. We seem to have lost our Skype connection.
Yeah.
Our laptop shut down or something.
We ran out of power.
How about those local sports teams?
Go, sports.
Still throwing the ball around.
Still doing the things.
Sports ball.
Well, I think they made it to the playoffs, didn't they? I think so.
Yeah, they're in the playoffs.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Well, you have like a, what else?
When you have 8 teams,
Yeah,
you know.
6 and 9 chance every year, so it's not a major accomplishment.
So, yeah, local sports teams, things and stuff.
Yeah.
Mostly.
We're working to remedy the situation.
Mostly. Window slices.
All right. We'll call them back. Yeah, the video one. Thank you, Sarah.
It's been a while since things crashed. You know,
Hey, guys.
Sorry about that.
No, I'm so grateful that it wasn't my fault because I'm not as savvy. I'm not technologically savvy. So I'm only relieved when I find out that a fuck up is not my own. Please don't get me wrong. Get your shit together.
Yeah.
See, when we don't like what some of the guests say, we just like randomly turn it off.
Hey,
Just like fuck that shit.
God speaking.
Nothing happens by mistake in God's plan.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Okay, I'm done.
Man, that is hey, God, will you talk dirty to me?
Well,
I almost spit out my coffee, Mike.
I did once impregnate a lady against her will, so.
Oh, jeez.
I mean,
and you never touched her.
Do you want to run for Senate in Alabama?
Yeah.
He pulled a Tracy Morgan.
I am the Senate. I'm just kidding.
Are we back on or are we waiting for a...
We are back on.
We're back on.
Oh, we're back on.
You
Okay.
betcha. There's no break on the live show.
Okay. Oh, it's live. I got you. No. Okay. Oh, God, I'm nervous. So,